3, 2, 1...
You might think you know everything about Independence Day. The explosions, the aliens, the epic speeches. But behind the scenes, things got way weirder, from casting battles and real-life UFO scares to on-set hacks that will make you question everything you saw on screen, and one jaw-dropping fact involving Area 51 and real US fighter jets that nearly changed the entire movie before it even got made. We don't have all day, let's dive in, starting with what Will Smith had to endure. Fact number 20. Will Smith's casting faced bias headwinds. It's hard to imagine Independence Day without Will Smith leading the charge against the alien invasion, but early on, his casting was almost blocked. Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin fought to have Smith play Captain Stephen Hiller, yet studio executives reportedly worried that a black lead might hurt the film's international box office potential, a common and deeply flawed bias in Hollywood at the time. Emmerich has said he pushed back immediately, insisting that Smith's charisma, comedic timing, and action presence were exactly what the film needed. The director argued that the movie's success would come from its story and characters, not outdated assumptions about overseas audiences. In the end, Smith not only got the role, but became one of the film's defining strengths. His performance helped push Independence Day to over 800 million worldwide and cemented him as a global superstar. And it wasn't the only time aliens in this movie sparked real-world controversy. In one case, it even had people calling the police, and that's what's up next. Fact number 19. A welcome wagon sparked real UFO calls. During pre-production, the Independence Day team staged a helicopter test flight for a scene that was supposed to simulate the aliens' arrival. The chopper was rigged with bright lights and unusual markings to give it an otherworldly look, almost like a real flying saucer. But the plan backfired spectacularly. Locals in California spotted the strange aircraft in the sky and, thinking they were witnessing an actual UFO encounter, started calling the police and news stations. Within hours, the incident had spread across emergency lines, tying up operators with reports of alien activity. The crew laughed it off, but it created an unexpected PR headache and a reminder that the movie's central premise hit closer to home than they expected. And that wasn't the only time the production dipped into something bizarre, because what the aliens wore on set will leave you shaking your head. Fact number 18. Alien performers were coated in KY jelly. The alien costumes in Independence Day looked incredible on camera, but wearing them was a nightmare. The heavy suits trapped heat, made it hard to move, and were prone to drying out under the studio lights. Makeup artists tried everything to keep them from cracking, but nothing worked, until someone brought out a giant tub of KY jelly. It sounds ridiculous, but the jelly gave the latex a slimy, organic look while keeping it from drying out. The downside? It made the suits slippery and messy. Performers had to endure hours of shooting while drenched in the stuff, often leaving sticky trails on set floors. It might sound like the strangest solution possible, but the film's effects team had a habit of mixing old-school tricks with outlandish ideas. And one of their most spectacular achievements came from blowing up one of the most recognizable buildings in America. Fact number 17. The White House explosion was a miniature masterpiece. One of the most iconic shots in Independence Day is the destruction of the White House, but it wasn't CGI magic. The effect was created using a highly detailed miniature model, meticulously built to replicate every feature of the real thing. To make the explosion look massive, the team filmed it at around 305 frames per second, with multiple cameras positioned at different angles. They even tilted the model slightly so the fire and debris would roll over it in a natural, ominous wave, creating a visual that still holds up decades later. But this wasn't just a one-off set piece. The way this single shot was used completely changed how the film was marketed. and helped it dominate the summer box office. Fact number 16. The most iconic shot became the marketing hook. That White House explosion wasn't just a big visual moment in the movie. It became the centerpiece of Independence Day's entire marketing strategy. The filmmakers decided to feature it prominently in trailers and posters. A bold move that essentially spoiled one of the movie's most jaw-dropping visuals before audiences even saw it in theaters. But the gamble paid off. The shot became so famous that it was used as a shorthand for the entire film, instantly recognizable even to people who had never watched it. In a way, it turned Independence Day from just another alien invasion flick into a pop culture event. Fact number 15. Explosions were mathematically timed. Most action movies rely on instinct and quick calls when it comes to blowing things up. Independence Day did the opposite. The pyrotechnics team actually calculated the exact timing and speed of each explosion, so the blasts would layer on screen in perfect sync with the camera's frame rate. This meant every fireball, spark, and burst of debris had to be triggered at precisely the right millisecond. One mistimed detonation could ruin an entire setup, and, with some shots costing hundreds of thousands of dollars to stage, they couldn't afford to get it wrong. The result was chaos that looked effortless. And if you think that level of precision is impressive, wait until you hear how the crew mixed that old-school pyrotechnics magic with cutting-edge digital trickery to make the destruction look even bigger. Fact number 14. Old-school pyros, new-school composites. While Independence Day leaned heavily on practical effects, the filmmakers also embraced digital compositing to enhance what was captured in camera. After the explosions were filmed with miniatures, visual effects teams layered in additional elements, like smoke plumes, debris trails, and enhanced firelight, to make the destruction feel larger than life. This hybrid approach gave the film a more tangible, weighty look compared to purely digital effects of the era. It's a big reason why so many of those shots still hold up today, even when viewed in high definition. Fact number 13. Vision Art swooped in, late to finish key VFX. Not all of Independence Day's visual effects came from the same team. Partway through production, the filmmakers realized they needed extra firepower to meet deadlines. That's when Vision Art, a smaller but highly respected effects house, was brought in to handle several key sequences, including some of the alien spacecraft shots. Working under intense time pressure, Vision Art delivered shots that blended seamlessly with the work from larger studios. In some cases, their digital assets were integrated with existing miniature footage so well that even crew members couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. That kind of last-minute problem-solving became a theme for the movie's production, and in one case, it led to an unexpected moment of comedy when two of the stars decided to go off script in a spaceship. Fact number 12. Jeff Goldblum and Judd Hirsch improvised on the mothership. The father-son chemistry between Jeff Goldblum and Judd Hirsch felt so natural because much of it wasn't scripted. During the scenes set aboard the alien mothership, the two actors began riffing off each other between takes, slipping in ad-libs and small comedic beats that weren't in the original dialogue. The filmmakers loved the result and decided to keep many of those improvised lines in the final cut. It gave the tense, high-stakes finale an unexpected layer of warmth and humour, helping to make the characters more relatable amid the chaos. Fact number 11. The title was a legal chess move. Independence Day wasn't always meant to be called that. In fact, the production team chose the title partly to secure the rights before another studio could. At the time, a different film project was circling a similar patriotic theme, and locking in the name early was a way to claim the cultural moment. But there was a problem. The studio didn't initially think the title was strong enough to sell a blockbuster. Roland Emmerich doubled down by writing and filming the now iconic presidential speech, making sure the words Independence Day were repeated in such a memorable way that changing it would be unthinkable. It worked. The speech became a rallying cry, both in the movie and in the marketing, ensuring no one could touch the title. And as we'll see next, that speech's power came from an unexpected and very old source. Fact number 10. That speech was inspired by Shakespeare. President Whitmore's iconic "Today we celebrate our Independence Day" speech is one of the most quoted moments in 90s cinema. But its rhythm and structure weren't born in Hollywood. Roland Emmerich has admitted the cadence was loosely inspired by Shakespearean battle speeches, specifically those in Henry V. The goal was to give the moment a timeless, rally-the-troops energy that would feel as relevant in 1940 as in the 1990s. By borrowing from that dramatic style, the filmmakers created a speech that audiences still revisit decades later, often ranking it among the greatest cinematic monologues of all time. Fact number 9. The US military walked away over Area 51. Initially, the Independence Day team had the full support of the US military. They offered technical advice, access to bases, and even aircraft to use for filming. But that all changed when the filmmakers refused to remove references to Area 51 from the script. The military considered the portrayal of the top-secret site too sensitive, even in a sci-fi setting, and withdrew their cooperation completely. This meant the production had to source or recreate everything themselves, from fighter jets to uniforms, without official help. It was a major setback for the filmmakers, but the decision also gave them creative freedom. And as you'll see next, they used that freedom to design alien technology in ways that were completely impractical, and deliberately so. Fact number 8. Miniatures beat out CGI on purpose. Even though CGI was becoming a big selling point in the mid-90s, Roland Emmerich and his team decided to rely heavily on miniatures for Independence Day. They believed physical models captured light and detail in a way digital effects couldn't match at the time. This choice meant building hundreds of scale models, from city skylines to alien ships, and then destroying them in front of high-speed cameras. The result was a level of realism that many fans say still looks better than some modern, fully digital blockbusters. Fact number 7. Explosions were filmed sideways for bigger impact. Some of Independence Day's most spectacular destruction scenes weren't shot the way you'd expect. For certain sequences, the effects team actually turned the miniature sets on their sides and filmed the explosions horizontally. This allowed fire and debris to fall across the frame in a way that looked far more dramatic and engulfing. The sideways setup also gave the pyrotechnics crew more control, letting them stage explosions that rolled slowly over buildings instead of just bursting upward. When slowed down in playback, the effect created a massive wave-like wall of fire that became one of the film's visual trademarks. It was an unconventional approach, but the team wasn't afraid to break filmmaking rules, and the same rebellious streak showed up in a surprising last-minute change to one of the film's biggest alien ship moments. Fact number 6. The alien mothership was a scale breaker. The mothership seen in Independence Day was designed to be an absurd 15 miles in diameter, so large that it didn't even fit into standard scale charts used by visual effects teams. To pull it off, the designers had to create specialized concept art and miniatures that conveyed the enormity without losing detail. This over-the-top size was a deliberate choice by Roland Emmerich, who wanted the audience to feel the ship's presence as a looming, inescapable threat. Even though the scale was scientifically ridiculous, it made the invasion feel larger than life. Fact number 5. The Empire State Building explosion. Took 8 seconds in real time. When the alien beam destroys the Empire State Building, it feels like a moment of slow, creeping doom on screen. In reality, the practical miniature explosion happened in just 8 seconds. The team achieved the drawn-out destruction by filming with high-speed cameras and playing the footage back at a fraction of real time. This meant every burst of fire, flying shard of debris, and collapsing wall was slowed enough to be studied in detail, giving the scene its haunting, almost graceful quality. The crew even added tiny practical elements, like flickering lights in windows, to sell the illusion that people were inside. That meticulous attention to detail wasn't just reserved for buildings. In one of the movie's most famous moments, the destruction was tailored specifically for one very unusual location. Fact number 4. The tunnel explosion used toy cars. The fiery destruction of the tunnel in Independence Day looks terrifyingly real, but most of what you're seeing is miniatures, including rows of toy cars. The effects team used detailed scale models, complete with tiny headlights and reflective paint to make them appear full-sized once filmed. When the massive fireball rolled through, the miniature cars tumbled, burned, and flipped exactly like real vehicles would, all thanks to carefully planned rigging and air cannons hidden under the set. It's a blink and you miss it detail that adds realism most audiences never think about. Fact number 3. The alien language was pure gibberish. If you listen closely to the alien communications in Independence Day, you might assume there's some hidden meaning or linguistic design. In reality, the sounds were completely improvised by the sound team using a mix of animal noises, distorted human voices, and synthetic tones. The goal wasn't to create a decipherable language, but to make something that felt unsettlingly foreign and aggressive. They layered everything through multiple filters until it sounded like a mix of whale calls, insect chatter, and static interference. An eerie combination that fit the film's menacing invaders. It's a great example of how creativity can come from randomness. And speaking of strange creative choices, the film's biggest dog scene came about in a way no one saw coming. Fact number 2. Boomer the dog became an accidental hero. One of the most crowd-pleasing moments in Independence Day is when Boomer the dog makes a dramatic leap into a maintenance room, just as a wall of fire roars past. The scene became so popular that some fans jokingly dubbed the movie "That One Where the Dog Lives." In truth, the stunt was pulled off with careful choreography, multiple dog doubles, and plenty of editing trickery to make it appear more dangerous than it was. Still, the reaction from test audiences was so strong that producers leaned into it in marketing, knowing the dog's survival was a guaranteed cheer moment. Fact number 1. The real jets at Area 51 were the most expensive props ever used. When Independence Day shot its now famous Area 51 sequences, the filmmakers didn't rely on models or mock-ups for the fighter jets. They brought in the real thing. Several operational F-18 Hornets were used on set, each worth tens of millions of dollars. These weren't empty shells either. They were active-duty aircraft temporarily loaned to the production under strict military supervision. The cost and logistics were staggering. The crew had to follow precise protocols just to move the jets for a shot, and only specially cleared personnel were allowed near them. Fuel, maintenance, and security alone added a huge chunk to the budget. But the authenticity it brought to the screen was undeniable. Those jets weren't just props, they were stars in their own right. And here's the kicker. After the US military pulled support over the Area 51 references, the production had to arrange these jets through back channels and private contractors. That meant Independence Day ended up filming one of the most expensive military setups in Hollywood history, without official government approval. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden details, let me know which fact blew your mind in the comments. Hit that like button to help more people discover these stories, and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into another Hollywood classic. You won't believe what we've got coming next.